Hey, welcome back everybody. So in this video I'm going to be showing you how I read the footprint chart live, actually live, not in hindsight, not showing you, this is this and that. I'm actually going to be showing you in real time as I'm reading it and kind of walking you through my steps and my thought process and what I'm interpreting it as, etc. So let's head over to the chart. So right now it's it's a few hours after market open. It's the NQ. This is the NQ on the 1 minute chart using deep charts. This is the delta footprint. Now what I'm always looking at is I'm trying to always identify who is a fresh buyer and seller versus, stop losses and take profits, right? Now if you don't know what I mean by that, my previous video, I'll link it in the description, goes over how to identify, who are essentially stop losses, take profits, and who are fresh, actual real, fresh volume coming in with intention to move the market in that direction, right? Because it's very important to know who is fresh volume because it has intention behind it, okay? So for example, and I'll just brush up on it really quick. For example, let's just go, bit earlier back, all right? All right, let's go here somewhere, right? So, you had a bunch of consolidations kind of going sideways a bit, blah, 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 blah. And then, we had a low here, like this is a perfect example, right? We had this low here. There's obviously going to be a bunch of buyers. You can see them everywhere, coming in, trying to get this market up. And then once this low gets taken down, all of a sudden you see a big spike in sell volume. That is a lot of buyers getting stopped out, right? That is exit volume right there. And it's the same with like take profits as well, okay? Sellers taking profit will look like sellers. Buyers taking profit will look like buyers. Buyers getting stopped out will look like sellers. Sellers getting stopped out will look like buyers, right? As long as you understand that, then it becomes quite easy. But again, I explained that in my previous video a lot more in depth. So here I'm just going to try and break down what would I look for in order to make a trade in the market, right? So first, I'm always trying to identify, where our stop's going to be, where I take profits, etc. Now, we got this high here. Whoop, that was a terrible drawing. Let's try that. Got a high here. Got a little wick high here. We got the low here. Okay. So what I want to see is, you see how that volume just instantly spiked to 60 the moment we broke that low? That's probably an element of buyers getting, out, or sellers getting stopped, sellers taking profit, whatever. And we're kind of in unexplored territory right now, right? Like there's nothing to the left of us right now. So all this volume is kind of hard to account for, so I'm not interested in this volume. I'm only want to look for volume, like obviously we're in a downward market, so I'm only kind of looking for shorts right now, okay? But I want to see, volume posted in an area where it doesn't make sense, where stop losses or take profits would be, right? So this is now the new low. You can see there's a bit of buying coming in, but that's probably an element of sellers trailing, getting stopped out. So I'm not interested in this buy volume. And I'm looking at the real volume coming in, right? We've got 20, 30. I want to see, back down to 20. Ooh, bit of a chunk, 70, bit more buyers. That's the moment we get to the top of that candle. That's definitely some sellers who are currently in the market getting trailed out. So this volume I wouldn't count as real buy volume, because it's always at the tips of candles, right? So I'm just watching it in real time. What I ideally want to see is, I want to see this volume I'm ignoring. I want to see now afterwards in the next candle, maybe, within this area, I want to see big sellers come in, right? If I see some big selling coming in, I'll be willing to jump in again for a short and do another wave down. So we're seeing a bit of trickling of selling, but nothing big. 16, 17, 20. There was a little chunk of sellers, but not a lot. I want to see that get a bit bigger, these numbers. 40, 30. Come on, give me a bit bigger numbers. Nothing too spectacular, just a trickle, not a lot at the moment. And I'm really hawking, the numbers here. And also the buy numbers, I'm hawking them. right? Because these are fresh buyers coming in. So I'm looking at these people now to see how effective or efficient they are, right? These are fresh new buyers coming in, trying to get the market up. So if we can get below these buyers, right? If we can get below them and post big sell volume, that's a great sign for me to jump in. So I want to get below that 70. Now I want to see some sellers come in hard and squeeze these buyers out. 40, that's not terrible, but it's still not great. A little bit more. You can see those buyers defending their position here. We want them to fail. Again, buyers adding more. They defended their area right now quite well. They're still holding off the sellers, but there's not really that many sellers. Here we go. 20, that's not terrible. A little bit more, give me a bit more of a bigger number. But it was in one big chunk, that 20, which is quite nice. But it's still not great. The buyers defended it very well. They're still battling it. They're trying to get the market up. All these buyers are vulnerable right now, right? This area. There was a big chunk of sellers, but it was in unexplored territory, so it's not volume I'm looking at. Still, the buy numbers coming in. So this is an unexplored. There's a bit of selling. I would go in short now. I want to see these sellers now. So I would be short here. My stop would be just above, the wick. And I want to see now, the market break down these lows. So I want to see a good push down. And now, while I'm in the trade, I'll have my finger on the exit just in case, right? Because I want to see now sellers be willing to short lower down. As we go down, I want to see sellers gain a bit of confidence and start shorting this market, okay? So I want to see sellers come in. Decent amount of sellers start coming in, and there was a bit of a chunk there. 20s, not bad, but a bit more. We need more sellers willing to short lower down in order to make that extension happen, right? In order to break down these lows, we need sellers to be willing to short at unfavorable prices. Does that make sense? If there's no real sellers, if we get lower down and sellers don't really want to come in, the market's not going to go down anymore, right? You need to have that momentum. You need to have sellers willing to keep shorting. Okay, so we got some sellers coming in, which is good. And we need these. There was a nice big chunk, so that's beautiful. That's exactly what I want to see. Definitely that 116 triggered was probably an element of these buyers getting stopped out. So I want to see sellers now take advantage of that, now that buyers have released some pressure, and start piling on the contracts and really getting this market down. If they don't do that, pretty soon, it's a trade where you might not want to be, stuck in it anymore, right? So we're just going to let it play out. It sometimes takes a few, it can take a few minutes sometimes for, trades to play out essentially. So we're just going to wait, be patient. We need to see sellers, like I said, we need to see sellers willing to come down. There's a bit of consolidation here, a bit of a sideways market, which is fine. It can go sideways for a bit. That's all right. But as long as sellers, there was a nice big chunk of sellers again coming in. But notice how sellers are coming in kind of in the middle of this range, right? But they're not being that efficient or effective right now, which is not the best sign, okay? We need to see more volume then being posted in order to really get this market down, okay? So I want to see big volume come in on the lows, okay, to break this low. There it is. There's the pop. Now we're at that low. We want to see big numbers coming in and that extension happen. There it is, 80, a little bit more. And basically, bit by bit, I would start looking at probably wanting to exit soon, because I'm seeing some buyers trickling in, trying to buy the low. I want to see sellers get below those buyers. That's it. I would have my finger on the exit. I'm seeing that's a lot of, stops getting triggered. So I need to see that number rise bigger than 120, a lot more, maybe 150 or so, to indicate more real sellers are coming in. 130, so maybe about 10 sellers, not a lot. 20 at the bottom, good. I want to see them, 40. I want to see it constantly getting pushed down. No new buyers and sell numbers coming in, trickling in chunks. There's another 30, beautiful. Keep that kind of, you know, coming in. And basically, the moment I see the pressure get lift off, then I want to get out the market and take my profit, right? So remember, we entered at that 70, 78. That's our entry. Our stop loss is there. And take profit, I like to be quite dynamic. I'm just going to get rid of all the drawings so I can actually move the chart, because we're getting a bit close. So we entered here. This is our entry. Obviously, by now, you'd want to, you know, put your stop loss, move it into profit. And you want to just keep seeing, you know, sellers basically taking control here, right? The moment the momentum lifts off, so I'm going to tell you when I would get out. So I got in there. Sellers are still coming in. So it's still looking okay. There's still a good amount of sellers, but we have had that extension now. This is probably, you're starting to see a trickle of buyers. I'll take my money now, right? And I'm out. So I'll be out at that X there. Okay? So all in all, I would have, that trade, I would have got in at 78 here. So 30, so my entry was there. And my exit was there, right? So not a bad trade. I mean, how many points is that? We went from 106 to 64, 40 something points, 41, 42 points, something like that. Not bad. In couple of minutes, right? All because, so let's break down why I would have entered at that 78, okay? So the reason I would have entered is, again, because I know which volume to ignore and which volume to actually chase, right? A, we identify we're in a downtrend. That's easy. Anyone can identify what kind of, you know, condition the market's in, whether it's sideways, whether it's trending. That's really basic stuff. I don't really have to explain how to identify that, right? Most people don't overcomplicate it. You don't need, I mean, you can use a moving average, but again, you don't even need stuff like moving averages. Just look at, where's it going? You know, just look at the direction. You know, are we going sideways? Are we going up? Are we going down? It's actually very easy, right? So we identified we're in a downtrend. Easy. So I'm only looking for shorts, number one. Number two, I'm looking for people who are vulnerable, right? Buyers who are vulnerable. Okay? I'm looking for fresh sell volume. So every time we made like a new low, so like here, etc., I'm looking at the volume posted within those lows, right? So we made that low at the time, and then you just saw the sell volume. This is real fresh sell volume coming in. Wasn't great. Wasn't that great. Wasn't great. Wasn't great. And then boom, there was some decent sell volume coming in a bit higher up. We're still within that high, so we know it's not take profits. We know it's not stop losses, right? Because it's not an unexplored territory. We have traded in that range already. So all these numbers coming in aren't pending orders of any kind being executed. They are fresh, new volume coming in. We're seeing buyers come in as well, sure, right? But again, we're not looking at buying. We're only looking to short. And, you know, we had a really tight stop. Our stop was up here, you know. Kind of played around for a bit. And we saw those sellers. I was happy to stay in this trade because you're seeing those sellers were willing to keep trading, right? Now, if, say in the next candle, in this candle here, we didn't really see any sell volume come in, and sellers were just trickling in a couple of contracts here, probably, yeah, I would exit, right? I would just exit, whether I'm at break even, a little bit in profit, or even tiny bit of drawdown, doesn't matter, but I'll just get out of that trade because buyers were still more aggressive in that area, right? Buyers are willing to buy more than sellers were willing to short, but that didn't happen, right? Sellers were still willing to keep adding volume lower down, right? Of course, sellers are willing to short higher up in a range. That makes sense, right? If we're taking this small little range here, of course, sellers are going to be willing to short at the top. That's what's to be expected. But what's not to be expected is sellers willing to short in the middle or at the bottom of a range, right? Now, if you have that, if you have sellers willing to short at the top, in the middle and at the bottom, and keep shorting and keep adding, that is what you want to see in order for an extension to occur, in order for that breakout to occur, right? Because you need that that volume being posted. So that gave me confidence that it's still going to be alright. Again, buyers tried to take control. They kept getting absorbed at the top, which is fine. And then sellers came in again, kept coming in. They're posting good volume. You could have entered at this 78, this 75, this 91. That 116 could have been an element of buyers getting stopped out, because we did kind of, break these little wicks here. But kind of hard to say. So I wasn't really paying attention to that volume. And then, 64 again, right? Fresh sellers coming in. Why do we know that's fresh sellers? Because we already traded there, right? Can't be stop losses anymore, right? We only traded 2 minutes ago. We were there. It can't be stop losses anymore. It's going to be, fresh, new sellers coming in. And then boom. Of course, there's a bunch of stop losses below this low here, right? So there's going to be a bunch of stop losses here. The moment we broke that low, you saw all the buyers getting stopped out. Now, that's a great sign for us, obviously. The buyers are out the market. But that doesn't mean it's going to flood down. In that moment, you need sellers to keep selling, right? You need sellers to keep shorting. All it means, that 135, all that means is that these buyers here got stopped out. But they can always re-enter. They might look at it and say, actually, right now, this is a great place to re-enter, great price, and start coming in hard, and they can push that market up again if sellers are not shorting it. So you need sellers to be willing to short lower down, which thankfully, again, they were. They were willing to add volume lower down, and we got the market down, down, down. And, took your money the moment you saw the pressure lift off a bit. It went a little bit further down, it trickled down, and now it's kind of coming back up again. And the same cycle happened. So that is how I'm reading the market in real time, okay? And you can do this over and over and over again. You just have to train your eyes to recognize what is real volume, fresh volume, and what is stop losses and take profits. And, my previous video, I explained very in-depth how to spot that. In this one, I wanted to show you essentially, how to look at the market in real time, like actually the numbers developing. Because I am keeping a mental tally as well, because this is the delta footprint. I'm keeping a mental tally of the numbers that are coming in, right? So we got 10, back down to 7, 10. These are all small numbers, right? 5, 6, 2, 14. You see, it went from -2 all the way to +14. That was like in an instant. That means one institution or some individual, whatever, entered, 17 contracts or whatever, right? 16 contracts, whatever it might be. So I'm also looking at the chunks that are coming in, If the volume is trickling in, right, just like going up in 2s, 3s, 2, 3, 4, going up a little bit, it's not as good as if you just saw it go from, 30 to 80 in an instant. Because that's a big order right there being placed, right? In one go. That's that's nice, right? You want to see that. So essentially, that is also what I'm looking for. If I see like a big order come in, great, and it is in line with my, with what I'm trying to do. Like I'm looking to short, and it's in line with that. Great. Then I want to, also be involved in that. So I hope I'll pretty much wrap it up there. I mean, a lot of you guys would see in the live how I did it. I used to live stream a lot. I will be coming back in the lives, actually. Can't promise I'll do it every day. But I will start going live again in the near future. And, you can watch me trade live. And, yeah, anyone who has, tuned into my lives would have seen me, trade like that anyway, so you guys would be familiar with it. But this is for people who obviously haven't watched it and want to learn. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So guys, thank you for watching. I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to be pumping out videos very, very often. I almost want to try and get a video out at least every, one every 2 days. A lot of the information is going to be repeated, but I think that is also a good thing. Repeating the information, doing it over and over, it helps people learn if they watch it numerous times. So I'm going to, in different scenarios in the market. So I do apologize if some of the information and videos are going to be kind of similar, but, there's only so much you can really show. There's not like a million different things. This is literally it. right? And of course, it goes a bit more deeper, and there's other things I can show, and I will do that in other videos. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you again very soon with another video, and take care for now. Thank you again. Bye bye.